Welcome to today's edition of the 2024 Rome and Floyd County High School Football Preview Show Series. WLAQ Sports sits down with each area head coach to discuss the upcoming season. Here are your hosts, Matt Davis and Ian Griffin.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to the 2024 Coosa Eagles Football Preview Show presented by WLAQ Sports. We're glad to be joined by the head coach of the Eagles, Geoff Cannon. Coach, thanks so much for stopping by and talking a little football with us.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
We'll jump right into the conversation. You spent the last 6 seasons as the head coach at Brantley County. How did the head coach opening at Coosa get on your radar?
Yeah, my time spent at Brantley, it was my first head coaching job. And being there 6 years, my oldest son had his senior football season this past fall. And, a long time ago, he had just told us that, if it was all possible, he'd really like to, go to one high school, and just kind of an occupational hazard. Sometimes, whether it's our choice or not, coaches have to, be mobile and whatnot. And, when it really just towards the end of the season, my wife and I, as we were praying through it, just kind of like what the future held for us, we both felt released from Brantley. We didn't have to leave. We didn't get run off or anything like that. Really loved my time there. Really enjoyed my 6 years there and those seasons, being with those kids and those families and that community. We just felt like our time there had come to an end, and that perhaps some new life and whatnot could really be breathed into that program, by someone else. And as I was just kind of perusing that coaching carousel, man, the state of Georgia, it is wild. I've been, I'm from the days of the old Georgia Varsity Sports Event, the old GAVSV, and Chris Lamb, who is now the man of constant sorrow, has kind of revealed himself, but he's an assistant coach down in Taylor County, but he's been all over the place. But he knows so much about every place, and if he doesn't know anything about it, he knows someone who does. And so, he would just, anytime an opening would come up, he'd just be kind of updating his list. And my Twitter notifications are not on, but they are for Chris Lamb and for a couple of other GHSA job board type things. And so I just turned them on. And so anytime a job posted, I just kind of like, oh, that's interesting, and just kind of talking through some things with my wife. We are both from East Cobb. We went to Walton High School in Marietta, Georgia, but I spent almost 20 years of my career, the bulk of it really, in South Georgia and coastal Georgia. And so to be able to, we knew we didn't want to come back to the metro area, but we were just really looking for what God had in store for us. And, the Coosa job came open. I started to talk to my wife a little bit about Rome and what that would look like for her and for us, a lot less dirt roads, which is very appealing to her. Us guys, we could live in a cave, on the side of a mountain. It just doesn't matter, but for her, so there's some things that, she that kind of change would be positive. Not that she needed it or had to have it, but like, hey, we can really, do life different and have a new chapter, for our family. I've got 4 children, 3 boys and a little girl, and so my oldest son is graduating, and you just got to feel for the kid. He's coming to shorter, and that decision was made before I took the job.
Okay.
So poor old boy thought he was going to be 6 hours away from home, and just out there living, and it'll be 10 minutes. It'll be 10 minutes away. But so that wasn't on purpose, but it's a huge advantage for us as a family. I know, especially for my wife, about the importance of coming up here and just kind of keeping us all, with arm's reach a little bit, which is good, for our big family. And just did a little homework, on Coosa and the Floyd County, school area and who's who and whatnot. Had heard of all of the schools, but just didn't know much about them. My high school football coach was Ed Dudley, and he was at the Darlington School forever ago, but I knew he was here and talked to him and his wife Lynn about it. And, hey, Rome's great. You guys would love it. That kind of thing. And in fact, the night before my first interview up here, I spent the night at his house, in the Roswell area, and was able to run up here. So, being close to some other folks and getting back up here in this area, north of the Nat line, I guess, and. I got to tell you, we just spent, the 4th of July dead week on St. Simon's, and it's like I'd been gone completely for a whole month. And man, you walk outside and your glasses fog up, and there's schools down there that weren't able to practice yesterday with just helmets. By 10 or 10:30, the wet bulb's already pulling the plug, and it's just like, well, my first week of June it was 61, and I was looking for a light jacket, for our 7 a.m. Summer workout. So those changes are kind of funny and whatnot. But yeah, just really excited to be up here. I thought it was a great opportunity. Floyd County has and the Coosa leadership has done a fantastic job investing in facilities. That was a huge plus for me. It was like, wow, new field house, new turf field, new track, new LED lights on baseball and football. Like they were making it an investment. And it also, really warms the heart. You pull into Coosa and you've got this tremendous performing arts facility too, right? Right there connected to the high school. And so, extracurricular activities and the importance of those, I'm just an old ball coach. But I know that, the research, the correlation between GPA and being involved in something in high school, and how it's a strong positive correlation. And so, seeing that Floyd County and the folks at Coosa are invested in an arts program and a performing arts program with band and chorus and things like that, and then competitive athletics, like what check every box. I've got a lot of kids; they like to do a lot of different things. It's exciting, and we feel like it's going to be a great move for our family.
Well, Coach, we talked a little bit about your time at Brantley County. Your team's made it to the playoffs a few times, won 5 games each of your last couple of seasons there. And so I would imagine, geographically speaking, obviously, football in some respects is the same in different places, but I'm sure there's a different tone and feel in different places as well. So, as you get ready and acclimated to your situation here, what do you bring from your experiences that you had in that area of the state to Rome and out at Coosa out here in Floyd County as you get ready to embark on your first season as the head coach? What lessons do you bring that you feel like help you in this situation?
Sure. Interestingly enough, so Brantley's very unique demographically, geographically, socioeconomically. It's very unique. It's hard to win. And but you've got great, hard-nosed, tough kids, and if you will connect with them and you're authentic and they know that you care about them, they will go out and play very, very hard. So athletically speaking, we were never as good as anyone that we played for the 60-plus games that I coached in there ever. And for us to be able to win, we had to be pretty sound. With being able to line up right and things like that, and we had to raise the football IQ. Those kinds of things were important. Our kids need to know what to do. And I've told anyone who will ask me a question like that there's a lot more similarities between Coosa and Brantley than you would think. Now, you think obviously mountains and in the swamp, that just how different can they be? Well, we've got some good, hard-nosed, tough kids at Coosa. The kids that are not afraid to, bring their lunch pail and their hard hat and go to work. That's important to me. And I think, when you have that as your foundation, the sky's the limit. But I learned the important, like I told people all the time, Nick Saban's not taking the job at Brantley County. And he's not taking the job at Coosa either. But those kids at both places deserve the absolute best coaches that they can have. So I'm going to work my tail off for these kids. And I feel like I did for the 6 years in Nahana, and just, commit and buy in and pour everything we can in, to building young men and building a football program that people in the community would buy a ticket and come sit in Caney Bay or come sit in this Bragg Stadium over here and be proud of the product that's put on the field. That's what I want to do, and I think you can do it here. I felt like you could do it at Brantley. You know, people would call me, "What are you doing, taking that job or whatever?" Again, those kids deserve the best coaches, just like any other kid, whether they're Rome City, whether they're Walton High School, Grayson, Milton. They all deserve the best coaches that they can get, and that's a big part of my calling, I feel like.
And speaking of coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were announced as coach in January of this year. When did your family arrive here in Rome? I know you said you've been here about a month, and kind of talk about the process of getting acquainted with your new team and surroundings.
Right. Well, so I've been here straight for about a month. So I got up here January 22nd. So I was every weekend except maybe 3 in all of spring semester. I was leaving church in Brunswick on Sunday, driving 6 hours up here, going to school, leaving after school Friday, and driving 6 hours back to Brantley. For the most of the spring semester. My middle son Charlie is going to be a rising 10th grader. So June 3rd, he came up with me the night before to start, because he's got to participate in summer workouts and whatnot. So he came up with me. I think we did 2 weeks in a hotel. And then around the 14th, the rest of my family came. Now, my oldest son is staying in the Brantley, Glen area, working and whatnot, and he'll come up, for college, whenever he's due up here. But my wife and my youngest son, Philip, and my daughter, Ella, got up here the 14th, and I really feel like that was really for good, And so we've got a contract on a house. We hope that that's all working out. We're Airbnb-ing it right now. We were in one on Eagle Drive right across from the school for the first 2 weeks, and it was amazing. You just, 5:55, you open the door, you just walk across, walking to work. It was amazing. I loved that. Right now we're in Cave Spring, which is a little further away, but I got to tell you, it's a nice little Coosa pocket down there, and it's really neat, and there's a lot of great folks down there. So we're really just kind of feeling out that the whole Coosa community and Guard Lakes, community of just trying to get to know folks and being in different spots. And so that's where we are. And, being able to really be a lot more permanent now that summer football has started. I feel a lot more comfortable having my wife and my children up here with me every day.
Well, that's a good place for us to take our first break, and we hope you're enjoying the 2024 Football Coaches Preview Show with Coosa Eagles' new head coach, Geoff Cannon, joins us here on the program. We're really enjoying our conversation, and again, hope you are too. Make sure that you like and subscribe our YouTube channel, and that way we can continue, Ian, to provide more great local content and talk about these kids and coaches and communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back.
Riverside Auto Group is celebrating 50 years in Rome and Northwest Georgia. Join the celebration and shop for your next car, truck, or SUV from Riverside Auto Group. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
Welcome back to our 2024 Coosa Eagles football preview show. We're here with Eagles head coach Geoff Cannon. And Coach, one of the first things you have to do when you take a new job is assemble your staff. So we'd love to hear more about the other coaches that are out there helping you build this program.
Sure. Well, I was able to retain a handful of guys that are really good, really young. Full of energy and passion and love Coosa, which is extremely important to me. I've got Jamie Penny, who played at Coosa. I think he's going into his third year at Coosa, but he spent around 10 at Dalton working for Matt Land, who's a very good friend of mine. So we were kind of able to, we're just 1 degree of separation, from us. He's my offensive coordinator. I hired Chris Mahan, who is, as my defensive coordinator, is probably one one of the best hires I feel like I've ever made. So he's an older guy. He spent 25 years in Alabama and has retired and was at South Gwinnett last year in his 26th year. So he's going to start his 27th year in teaching and coaching at Coosa. And the overwhelming majority of his time in Alabama was as a head coach. So what I've got as a 6-year experience, a head coach guy, I've got that guy that, hey, coach, you might want to take a time out here, right? Like I've got a guy who's been there. He's been in the fire. Now, of course, he's all sold out and building this defense and building it into something special and something we can be proud of. But when it comes to game management on Friday night, we don't have a humongous staff now. It's not bad. I'm coming from a place where we had more coaches, so being able to add responsibilities and make sure that all the jobs get done. But you think from a game management situation, I'm the play caller, so add that to the mix on a Friday night, and just having an old veteran that can be like, hey, coach, you might want to think about this right here, just because there's so many things to think about. So I'm super excited to have him. The kids love him. He laid out and formed tackle to tackling ring on day one, and the kids have just have really taken to him. So that's Chris Mahan. Very excited about him. Luke Medlock is returning. He's coaching quarterbacks and helping with DBs. He's our head boys soccer coach. That's he's fantastic. And again, just Coach Penny is head track coach. Who's helping with football. You got the Coach Medlock's head boys soccer coaching football, and then Coosa High's favorite son Tyler Bradley, who has just been recently named the boys head basketball coach at the high school, is also on our staff coaching receivers and helping with defensive backs. And he's just phenomenal. I was able to retain Hunter Davis, who's the head baseball coach at Coosa, and he's coaching our defensive line and helping with our tight ends. And then I've hired Tucker McCoy, who's a Floyd County guy, young, fresh out of school. Really excited to see how he can help us. He's going to be helping with O-line and D-line, and I'm just really thrilled to have him on staff and whatnot. But that pretty much rounds us out for right now. I may be able to. I've got a guy that I'm talking to right now about becoming a community coach and whatnot, and really helping us. And so those things are great. My oldest son, when he gets here, if he's not doing anything, he's gonna get put right to work. So Kirkland Cannon will be doing something, carrying water, setting up, the field, breaking it down, loading trailers, unloading trailers, those kinds of things that got to get done.
Well, Coach, let's talk about some of your dues. We've talked about your coaching staff, how you got here, a little bit about your time in Brantley County. Let's start talking about your players. Obviously, you've spent a considerable amount of time getting to know them. Now you've had a summer with them, which obviously you're still in full swing with that. So who are some of the guys' names that we're going to hear a lot this year?
Right. Something that I've realized early on in just kind of researching Coosa and their recent the last couple years and how they've done and who stood out. We've got a rising senior class that's just loaded with skill players. Okay, now I got one. Jaden Zachary, I think, is my only senior offensive lineman. I have B.J. Porter at tight end, Jakari Daniel defensive end, tight end. But like a true lineman body, I really got one. The rest of them are like athletes, and so that's been really awesome. I'm not used to that, so. I'm very excited about that, but a first-team All-Region linebacker in Harrison East coming back. I mean, you can't.
That's a name people remember.
Yeah, you can't.
Sure.
You can't not start there. Jalen Warford, who was under center at quarterback with a split back veer last year. He's competing for the quarterback job, but he's absolutely staking a claim at corner. Right now, really long, very athletic, good leader, those kinds of things. Marion Millsap is going to be a senior. His brother Vanye Millsap is going to be a junior. Both of them really long, really lean, can run, very athletic. So those are DB receiver types, those kind of guys. At linebacker and we've got next to Harrison's probably Hagan Cawthon, who's going to be a junior. We've got some outside guys in like Mason Brownlow, who's going to be a senior. DJ Johnson going to be a senior. Really looking forward to what some of those guys can do. I got a rising junior, Xander Sledge. That's probably going to help there. And I'm also returning, Jashawn Turner at running back, who's a rising senior. Now, he rushed for over 1,000 yards last year. So very excited about that. I will tell you, anybody that I name, they all work extremely hard in the weight room, and they have since I've gotten there in January, and they were working hard there before I got there. So not having to, upon arrival, change the culture in the weight room, which is where you have to start. Okay, so like when I got to Brantley, it was a major weight room overhaul. Like with the standards and the expectations and what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. I remember an administrator pulled me aside, first couple weeks at Brantley and said it was nice to see the boys soar again. That's that matters. I get here. And the commitment to the weight room and the level at which the kids already understand its importance, huge advantage when you're coming into a new place and trying to build a program. So those guys that I named are pretty good. I've got some young offensive linemen. I think Braden Turpin is really going to make his mark there. We want to be able to stay healthy. Zeke Ellis is going to be another rising junior. Him and Braden are both rising juniors. Jackson Monteroso, rising junior. These are offensive and defensive linemen. Hey, we're single A Division I, by golly. The best 11 are going to be out there. So now we would love, right now, I feel like we've built it to be as close to 2 platoon as we can. A guy like Jalen Warford's probably going to, if he's not at quarterback, he's going to be at slot receiver, and DB. Like he's going to be on the field somewhere. Harrison East, in a certain personnel package offensively, going to be on the field somewhere. So, these guys are going to be out there. Right now we're 2 platoon, but as we really start to, once we put pads on for real, that'll probably start whittling itself down. The best players got to play. My middle son, Charlie, my oldest son, pulled his hamstring in the first game last year, and so I had to throw 14-year-old freshman Charlie out there. He came in through a touchdown pass. Ended up winning the game, and he ended up starting 5 out of those 10 games, and he played in all 10 of them. And so when Kirkland came back from his injury, we really felt like we needed his athleticism at running back, and so I had both of them in the backfield for the majority of our region games, which I got to tell you. So as a dad, that was really cool. But I wouldn't choose that for anybody, especially at quarterback. And so, come on, right? I was a lineman, and my oldest 2 sons are quarter. Like, what happened? I don't know. I was just a head down. Didn't say much. And grinder, pulling guard. And whatever. And these kids want to spin that football. So Charlie's competing right now for the quarterback job. He's got a crazy advantage because other than me, he knows the offense the best, even with our coaching staff right now for as much time as I've been there. That'll probably change. Our coaches are really good, and they're very hard at work and getting our terminology down and whatnot. But also got to tell you, when you're putting in an offense and you have a quarterback that's like, no, hey, do this, or hey, go here, no, hey, line up right there. That has been very helpful. And, Jalen's a tremendous athlete, and he's a fast learner. So he's right there. So we don't know. It's, second week of July, so there's no telling, but it's been a lot of fun watching them compete and whatnot. So that really about rounds us out. I'm sure I've missed some kids. I honestly, we've got some backup skill players that are going to turn into starters. They're going to be covering kicks and things early. A kid like Reggie Hammock is going to find his way on the field. A kid like Aaron Hanner is going to find his way onto the field. These guys work too hard, and they're receivers, slot receivers, safety type kids. Caden Turner, Jashawn's younger brother, is going to be a rising junior. He's in the slot right now and at safety. So there's just some things. Again, 6 years at Brantley, and this is a whole lot of skill. I'm going to have to bring out my old touch chart from when I was at Glenn Academy, and we had tremendous athletes. I got to make sure that we're just balance. Yeah, balance is just getting it to us. The old Mike Leach. I don't care if we throw it 155 times. If it's to different people, that's balance, right? So
you're saying you like pirates?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Anytime somebody brings up Mike Leach, you got to bring up the whole pirate thing, I suppose.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, you touched on some of the specific players that we're going to hear a lot about this season. Let's talk X's and O's, style of play, sure. Offense, defense, special teams.
Right. So philosophically speaking, just who I am, I am certainly a run first, didn't divide guy on offense, which will set up, a possession passing game and whatnot. But I've been doing this long enough to know we're going to do what our kids can do best. And, with our young linemen, I'm not sure how many folks we're going to be able to block down and kick out over and over and over and over and over again. And in the same breath, I don't know how long we're going to be able to protect the passer like that. So we will most likely be, run first, pretty RPO heavy, getting the ball out, getting it in space as fast as we can to our very athletic skill players offensively, and try to move the ball. We'll probably use all 4 downs to do it more often than not, depending on where we are in the field. I mean, it just is what it is today. Third and medium is the new 2nd and 6, right? It's like, cut it in half, and you've bought yourself another down. So that'll be pretty interesting. But like, my personal philosophy is I would never throw a pass if I didn't have to. Not ever.
The old Bear Bryant?
Yeah, not ever. And but I got to tell you, it's so much fun. And the kids really like it. And listen, we've got a lot of, basketball only kind of kids that are sniffing this pigskin this summer because of we're going out to it's a game, right? I mean, you want to have fun playing the game. And these days, kids have fun when you're throwing it around a little bit. But I got to tell you, if you can run the ball with authority, and so they're going to have to spin another guy in the box, and that's just opening it up. And so I really hope that we're able to do that offensively. In my menu, I can get in anything, in any kind of personnel group, and run any kind of play. So whether that's zone scheme, inside zone, outside zone, wide zone, or gap scheme where you're running buck and power and counter and trap and stuff like that. It looks to me that our guys up front are going to be able to handle our gap scheme stuff quicker. Now, inside zone's going to be in there because it's a great change up in the second half when you've been, when they're reading guards and you're blocking down and whatnot. But offensively, that pretty much wraps it up. Little screen game, I guess. We'll be working that pretty hard, just trying to get that ball out there as fast as we can. Defensively, you got to be able to line up right and have a relentless pursuit of the football. Everything else is going to be up to Chris Mahand. My head coaching philosophy, which he agrees with and I've shared with him, is we've got to be able to, because if you're misaligned, and that's Brantley County talking, because if you're not lined up right, you're dead meat when you don't have the athletes to compete with folks. So you had to be lined up right. You had to know your job, and then you had to be able to execute and do your job. But then after that, it is a mindset, this relentless pursuit of the football, to be there fast, all 11 of you, arriving in a bad mood, beating up the football, taking it away, being really physical, block destruction, things like that. And it's been a lot of fun watching Coach Mahand and our coaching staff work. Special teams, I was a special teams coordinator at Glenn Academy for a long time. At Brantley for a time, that's all I did. I had to coach something because I was going crazy. I had a very good offensive coordinator who was also a play caller the last couple of years, had a very good defense coordinator who's now the DC at Veterans. Down there in Warner Robins. These are outstanding teachers of the game, really good coaches. So my stuff was in, right? Year 5, year 6. I mean, the philosophy is in, the stuff, the terminology is in. Let's just get better at what we, who we are and those kinds of things. And so I had to coach something. So I took special teams back and was able to just take that off of some plates of some guys that were doing a really good job coaching football. And so I think Hunter Davis is going to coordinate our special teams. I really look for. I've got Wallace Ordonez, didn't mention them, and Saul Valerio. I've got 2 really talented kickers. They're young. I'm very excited about what they're going to do. So we hope to be able to. It's a third of the game, but it's not the third of the plays, and they can be terribly important. And so we're gonna take special teams very seriously.
That's a good place for us to go ahead and take our final break here on the show. We got just a couple more questions for you, Coach, that we'll get to when we come back. But we do want to mention to you, we appreciate you watching the 2024 football preview show for the Coosa Eagles. Glad to have Geoff Cannon with us, brand new head coach of the Eagles. And we also want to remind you to like and subscribe. Yes, there it is again, huh? We'll be right back.
Riverside Auto Group is celebrating 50 years in Rome and Northwest Georgia. Join the celebration and shop for your next car, truck, or SUV from Riverside Auto Group. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
All right, we welcome you back in. One more segment here with Coach Cannon here for the Coosa Eagles. And again, we appreciate you being here and watching this program today. And we'll just go ahead and jump back into our questions here, Coach. And the next one is going to be related to your approach to summer workouts, what you guys been doing to get prepared for the season, what that's looked like for you. I know you kind of touched on that a little bit during the first segment, but just give some details about that.
Yeah, so before a head coach was hired at Coosa, the administration, it's a scheduling year for the GHSA. So, every 2 years, it's a realignment year and those kinds of things. And so they had to make a schedule. And they went ahead and scheduled 2 fall scrimmages, so we didn't get a spring. And that being new, that was tough. It was a part of the deal. They told me right out of the gate, so it was okay. It certainly wasn't a deal breaker. But not having those 9 practices and maybe a scrimmage or just those 10 practices in pads, so that I could see the kids, bang and clang a little bit. Because you can be Tarzan in the weight room now, but not want to stick your face on anybody, like you just not be that physical. And you don't know that until you put pads on. So the tail end of January and then all February, March, April, and May, we're just throwing heavy things around the best that we can and just trying to get stronger. We had a big lift-a-thon at the end of March. I got multiple 500-plus pound front squatters. Never had that before, ever. Really awesome. Just some guys, again, really sold out, committed to the weight room, which was a lot of fun. So you roll into summer. And we're trying to throw the ball a little bit to some of these guys, so I want to make sure I've scheduled some 7-on-7s you get a couple padded camps. You get one in June and one in July, so I made sure we signed up for that. So we threw against Darlington, in June. We threw against ourselves the first time. You're really starting to install concepts because I didn't have those spring days. We were doing the 4x1s and things, and then we would do some off-season conditioning workout stuff with no footballs. You got to be within the rules, so there's no footballs out there. But I'm installing formations and just talking about terminology offensively. Coach Mahan wasn't there yet anyway. He didn't get there till June 3rd, so we didn't talk much defense. So we were doing those things in the off-season, leading us into summer. And so, again, like I said, 7-on-7s on the calendar. We went to Chattooga for a padded camp. Pepperell was there. Gordon Lee was there, which is a new region opponent for us. Dalton was there. Chattooga, Lafayette. I'm trying to think if anybody else was there. I can't remember. But we matched up with Dalton, Chattooga, and Lafayette, and that was the first time that I had seen our kids hit anybody, and it was awesome. And they had never gone to one, so there's no Charlie. He's a rising sophomore. My son's the only one that on the team that's participated in any 7-on-7s or padded camp, so he knew what to expect. But the other 59 kids had no idea, right? And so it was awesome for us as a coach and staff. And I remember we were, riding back from that padded camp, like, finally, we've got some football. You can figure out and check some boxes. We're looking forward to this scrimmage on August 2nd. We're going to Mount Zion in Carrollton. But that Monday's the first day of full pads. I guess it's going to be like a rec league. The coaches on the field and stuff. Like, what are we doing? It's going to be pretty controlled because not anyone's going to have been in pads or anything. So we'll do that. We've got another padded camp next week. We're going to Northwest Whitfield. There's going to be a bunch of teams up there. Really looking forward to it. But that's the bulk of it. Besides the throwing around heavy things. Lots of sprinting and change of direction drills, and then some endurance type stuff. My early on Brantley kids would be so disappointed, but we haven't run the first 200. We've run a bunch of 110s and some things like that, but and some triangles. It simulates a play. You walk aside, you jog aside, you sprint aside for a certain amount of time. It's really hard. But we're doing those kinds of things, to get us right. So, and then you get to practice football, and that's really what's different in the past 15, 20 years is the football stuff that you do after you lift and run. When I was at Glen Academy, 05 to 13, our summer workouts were either, 10 to 12 in the morning or, 6 to 8 in the afternoon. You just came to whichever one you could come to. So there's no you're not doing running back drills. You're not installing anything. And that's just the way it was. Now you lift weights as hard as you can. You go out there and run as hard and as fast as you can, and then you practice football. You're going to Indy, right? You're doing Indy D, and you're working on footwork and whatever. And so the game has really evolved that way and made those changes. But that's really, where we are. We've got a couple weeks left of that, and then July 22nd, it's acclimation. You got to come to that stuff. GHSA says you got to be there, so you have to be there. And so we'll have a helmet on for 5 days straight, like you're supposed to. I mean, you've been in a helmet all summer, and you got to come in and make sure they acclimate for 5 days, but those are the rules. Summer's voluntary, and it is. But I also have to tell any parent or any kid that'll ever ask that about that stuff, it absolutely is voluntary. But I also volunteer who gets to play on Friday night, and so you're going to commit to the team. You can't tell me that anyone we play is going to be playing with any joker that hasn't been committed to the weight room all summer and doing the thing, taking care of his body and doing those things. It's a safety issue. I'm going to throw a kid out there that hadn't lifted any weights. You kidding? So, And again, I respect it. A hard-working community in Coosa, really hard-working down there in Nahunta. I understand that kids have to work. All my kids down there had to, pay for their own truck too. I mean, it's hey, I got to do this, I got to do that. Totally understand. I never had a boss down there, and I haven't yet up here, and I doubt I ever would, to say no, no, they can't. They have to come to work at 7 a.m. instead of coming to your workout. So no, every time that boss wants that kid to come be a kid and play the game that he loves and things like that. So I've had a good response, here in Coosa with all that stuff too.
Well, Coach, it sounds like you've gotten acclimated to the community really well. To round out our interview here, all this hard work, it's all about Friday night. So what are you looking forward to most about coaching your first game on the sidelines as the Coosa Eagles head coach?
Well, my scoreboard personally, and the way how God's called me is going to be different than how my success is measured. So I want to win. I came here to win football games. I didn't come here to lose them. So we're going to work very hard to win. And it takes what it takes, right? It's going to be hard. It's an uphill battle. I live for it. I look forward to it, and I want our kids to go out and be competitive. They've got to go out and compete. We talk a lot about body language. We talk a lot about them being in control of their response to any given event, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And I always, it's us with a 60-yard run, or we give up a 60-yard run. It's 4 to 6 seconds. And it's turn the page, and you got to line up right, and you go play the next play. So there's a lot of focus on that, with fixing those kinds of attitudes and whatnot. But I got to tell you, it's going great right now. I had a guy come by practice today, tell me just how great everything was. I was like, yeah, we're 0-0. So yeah, it's great right now. Lose a game or two, then come tell me what you think about what we're trying to build here. That's how I measure, and I get it. My scoreboard personally is different. Comes from a much higher power than me, a very sovereign God, and that's just how I live my life. So my ministry and things are these kids and this community, and I'm going to do everything I can for us to be successful. And in the game of football, that means winning football games. I can't wait. Our second scrimmage is on the 9th is against Pepperell. At Coosa, new field, new facility, new coach. Coach Haywood, new coach. I think people are going to pay $8 to come see that.
Yeah,
and it's a scrimmage. Yeah. So I'm hoping we pack it out, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. And I just want to go, and I want the people again to see hey, they've worked really hard. Look at the product that's on the field, and I hope that as the season goes on, that they see improvement and change for the good. But man, that August 9th scrimmage with Pepperell should be so much fun for both teams. That should be great because there's really nothing at stake. It's a scrimmage game. But man, Coach Haywood's awesome, and Pepperell and all their tradition and whatnot, and coming to our place with the new everything and new coach, it should be a lot of fun.
I think we've got plans on the 9th now. Right?
I think we do. Right. And I just have to say this has been a real pleasure to get to talk to you. This is the first time either one of us has had an opportunity to sit down with you and chat some football. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you so much for your time. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. That's going to put a wrap on it. And Ian, do you want the honors this time?
Absolutely. We appreciate you tuning in to our 2024 Coosa Eagles preview show. Make sure you like and subscribe.
There it is. There it is.
Share it. Get it out there so we can provide more local content because this is what we do. We want to highlight our local teams, coaches, and players.
Best of luck to you and the Coosa Eagles this year, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. Appreciate you watching, and so long, everybody.
Hope you enjoyed this edition of the 2024 Rome and Floyd County High School football preview shows presented by WLAQ Sports. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to our channel for more local content from the WLAQ Radio YouTube channel.